Hi, I'm Kelly Schmidt, registered dietitian and type 1 diabetic, going on 29 years. They actually think diabetes is easier than it is. Behind the scenes, maybe my husband or my children see it, but our condition can be very taxing. Just last night I was up every 3 hours treating a low blood sugar. And then today my son wanted to play soccer, but I couldn't because my blood sugar wasn't in range. I'm consistently looking at my watch, and research has shown, as someone with diabetes, we make 180 extra decisions a day based off our condition. I don't know, there's a handful, but 1, you're gonna be okay. 2, the only constant with type 1 diabetes is change. So take each day, with a grain of salt, and do the best you can, collect data, and try to apply the information to tomorrow. And number 3, use this condition as a silver lining to realize how strong and tough you really are. Every single person with type 1 diabetes has so much bravery and so much courage. Cultivate that, and help use that positive and strength thing to help you get through other hard situations and through life. All the lessons throughout my life of being a type 1 and dietitian, have helped me build my philosophy and how to best help others. This is a really hard year, but I've learned through the last 29 years of being type 1 diabetic that, the only direction to move is forward, and that we need to persevere, and that while it's not going to be a cakewalk, if we trust ourselves, if we have confidence in ourselves, if we take care of ourselves, we'll be okay. I would say as we're getting into colder months, it's something with comfort and warm, and something that's easy and quick. My favorite thing on Testimonial that they can do is actually identify brands that have a hard time keeping their space on grocery shelves. When I want a specific product that meet my dietary needs, they can suggest other products that they partner with. I was inspired to become a registered dietitian actually through the experience of my dad. In 2002, when I was just a senior in high school, I was deciding what my major would be and which college I wanted to attend. And unfortunately, he was going through a kidney and pancreas transplant. As a young sub-17-year-old, sitting in the waiting room after 10 hours, I decided I want to make a difference in others' lives, to use food as medicine to prevent that daughter or that father being in those shoes. A go-to breakfast that I've been making is very low-carb, high-protein oatmeal. I use just 1/4 of a cup of sprouted gluten-free oats. I use 1 tablespoon of flax meal, 2 tablespoons of hemp seeds, which is a complete protein, and 1 tablespoon of chia seeds. I put it in a small glass bowl, and I actually boil hot water in the kettle, cover that mixture with boiling water, and place a glass plate on top of it for a minute or 2, and I let that cook. The last ingredient that I failed to mention that I put in there as well is a scoop of collagen peptides. This is a high anti-inflammatory protein powder, and I put it in there to help bump up the protein content of the meal, along with all that fiber and healthy fats. And it keeps my blood sugars very steady, and it keeps me full for a good 4 hours in the morning. I think it's way too hard to say who's had the most influence on my nutrition career, because there's been such pivotal moments that helped me identify my health. But in 2009, I went to a conference called Food as Medicine. And at this conference, they talked about, using food holistically in an integrative, healthful way. And some big names there were Dr. David Katz, Dr. Sheila Dean. And a common theme in this conference was to, of course, eat whole real food, but to perhaps go gluten-free. And I remember sitting in my seat and thinking, I've been type 1 diabetic forever. I'm a registered dietitian. I know plenty. Why would I ever give up gluten? I've been tested for celiac. It's a common thing with type 1 diabetes to also have celiac. And it was always negative. But why would I give up gluten? That is for the birds, because I have enough to cover being a type 1 diabetic. But I left that conference and headed home and thought, what do I have to lose? So I gave up gluten, and I actually had never felt better in my life. I felt like I was more in control of my diabetes, the inflammation in my body, and I could think so clearly. And the crazy thing is I didn't realize those things were a problem. So I would say that conference was the most influential thing in my life, which led me to be more skeptical with nutrition advice, to be more skeptical with the dietary guidelines, and to build a practice where I could really help people in an integrative way.